Welcome everyone to the third round of the 2011 GP4 Offline Championship. We are here for the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit. So first of all, we will go through the Malaysia race rating and the driver of the day. So the race rating was given a 7.12 out of 10, which I think is a fair rating. And the driver of the day was given to Viggo Holst, who took an impressive 4th place for Force India. Now, last time out at Malaysia, it was Joseph Willows who won the Grand Prix by a comfortable 30 seconds out of his teammate Waze Kuba, who, as Ferrari took a 1-2 finish as they dominated through the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see as we are here in China to see if that will be the same. So, of course, there's 16 corners on this circuit. There are 56 laps that we will be doing, and the lap record was set by Jay McKenzie, a 1:37.036, which I imagine, considering how fast these cars are this season, that most likely will be beaten, as the cars are even faster than they were in 2009, which many people thought was insanely fast, a bit like today's cars in 2017, which are amazingly fast. Anyway, on the grid, we have Michael Gall takes pole position for McLaren, with James Willows 2nd place for Red Bull. 3rd and 4th on the grid is Evan Byrne and Waze Kuba, McLaren and Ferrari, respectively. 5th and 6th is Joseph Willows for Ferrari. 6th is Volker for Red Bull. So McLaren, Red Bull and Ferrari, Red Bull and McLaren, I should say, taking up the top 6. And in 7th place, I should say, is Alex Southgate, and 8th is Felix Sonntag, meaning it is an all-Mercedes 4th row of the grid. And as we go further down the order, Rens Jans for Sauber, an impressive qualifying from the Latvian driver, is 9th, with George Roque, the British driver for Renault, in 10th. As we go on to the 6th row of the grid, we have Roland Moichin, followed by Rens Jans' teammate, Rivki Fakhrizadeh, who has impressed so far, who impressed last season at GP2 and has got his first points of the season on the board. 13th place is Jay McKenzie, with Amar Khan in 14th. Toro Rosso, a better qualifying from Amar Khan, as he was known last season to struggle with qualifying. 15th place is Robert Ionescu, followed by Sam Thompson in 16th place. 17th place is Viggo Holst, followed by Michael Mocho in 18th. Viggo Holst, a disappointing qualifying after his great performance last time out at Malaysia. 19th place on the 10th row of the grid is Alan Wolf and Sean Grant, the Irishman for Virgin. And on the last row of the grid is Roman Quagg and, of course, Xavier Quinlan. So that is the grid for the Chinese Grand Prix. We will now see what the weather will be like for the race. So 56 laps it will be around the circuit. So let's have a look at the weather. As you can see, it will be a wet race at the start. However, the rain will stop around half an hour, around 30 minutes into the race, meaning that we could have a wet, dry race on our hands, which could make it very, very interesting come the end of the race. Even though, as it says, there's meant to be rain later on, the race should hopefully be finished by then. But we will see. Anyway, we are now on the grid, so it is Michael Gall on pole, with James Willows 2nd. James Willows has been known in this season to not make good starts. As the lights are coming on, we now have 4 lights, and we now have 5 lights. And we are underway for the Chinese Grand Prix here at Shanghai, and Michael Gall looks to have got a good start. Who is going to get the jump into turn 1? And it looks like Gall has got the lead, and it looks like Evan Burns made a great start from 2nd. He's going to push his way into 3rd. James Willows, once again, doesn't make the best of starts, and is going into turn 1, and is James Willows going to keep it from Burn? Gall looks like he's kept the lead as the rain pours down as they head through turn 1. They head through into turn 2. And it looks like as James Willows kept 2nd place, it's still side by side between him and Evan Byrne. It's still side by side, but Gall has the lead. We know that for sure. And as Evan Byrne got 2nd place, it's still side by side as they head towards turn 4. And is he going to make the move stick? He is, but no, Evan Byrne switches to the inside and he makes the move stick. And he makes it through. What a move there by Evan Byrne. He gets up into 2nd place. So going through the infamous turn 4. Will there be any collisions? We don't know. As the cars head through, it looks like to go away there. Oh, there's a car from the background I've just seen. There's a car that's gone off, and it's Jay McKenzie. His bad luck in the season continues, and unfortunately he is out of the race on lap 1. So who was involved in the crash there? As Jay McKenzie unfortunately is out of the race, so he is at the moment the only one that has retired from this race. But has there been anyone else involved? That is the big question. So here's Sean Grant at the back, and it looks like there's a very slow car. And oh, there has been a collision. Oh my goodness! And there's several cars involved. There's a Sauber involved in that as well. I don't know who that is. Alan Wolf has, however, been involved, and I think that might be Rivki Fakhrizadeh, as Jamie Casey's car gets pushed away. So what has happened at the start? So there's chaos has ensued. So here we're on board with McKenzie, who is in 9th place and then looks to be ahead of, I think it is Alex Southgate. And oh, there was contact between, it looks like the Force India of Rella Moichin, who was then hit, I think, by who went into the back of Southgate, and then who went into the back of Jay McKenzie, unfortunately. So Southgate, unfortunately, involved Renz Jans, actually, I think was the driver who was involved, I believe, was it? It was Rella Moichin who I thought was involved, and Farkrasane, I think, was involved in it as well. But let's have a look at on board with Rella Moichin's point of view. So, oh no, he got hit up the back by, it was Robert Ionescu, I think, or was it Ricky Farkrasane? It was Ionescu, and then Farkrasane went into the back of Ionescu. So Robert Ionescu was the one who actually started that whole pile up, the whole crash there. So he went into the back of Roland Moichin, and Ricky Farkrasane, who was coming steaming into the corner, went into the back of Ionescu, who then hit the back of Moichin, meaning he loses his rear wing. But at the moment, somehow, only one driver is retired from this race, and that is Jay McKenzie. But what an absolute mad start that was, and there was more of a collision further up the field. So let's have a look at what happened there. So there was Ricky Farkrasane, who lost both his front and rear wing. And so, are we going to see what happened, or I'm not sure. But there's Mackenzie's car getting pushed away, but Miklos Gau's got a big lead. Evan Byrne is in second. So where have all the other drivers gone? Oh, Volker's lost his front wing. And he's going to have to go in the pit. So something has happened up the front as James Willows goes past. Another two Ferraris are going to go past. So Volker, who was behind his team, did he hit his teammate, James Willows? It looks like it, unless he's had a collision elsewhere. And he goes into the corner, and he does. He hits James Willows, and he loses his front wing, but James Willows gets away with it. He has a damaged side pod, but fortunately, he hasn't damaged the rest of his car, and that is disastrous for the two Red Bull drivers. Not the way they wanted to start this race. But James Willows is still in the race, but Volker is going to have to go back to the pits. What an absolute disaster for Red Bull there. Helmut Marko will be furious in the pit box at this moment in time, as the two Ferraris are going side by side, or attempting to, as they go past Volker, as the rest of the cars go past. Sontag goes past, Roke goes past, as they head into the hairpin, and Sontag's trying to make a move, and there's more contact, and Joseph Willis has gone round, and there's a massive pile-up at the hairpin. Absolute chaos here on lap 1, and looks like Volker was involved again. I don't know if anyone's retired, but Joseph Willis is unfortunately going to have to wait for everyone to go back past. So what on earth is going on? But Volker goes in the pits, having lost his rear wing as well. But Joseph Willis is going to drop right to the back of the field. And he, I believe, is going to have to go into the pits unless he hasn't got any damage anywhere else, which I don't actually know if he has. But what on earth is happening here? What is going on? Can someone please explain why the drivers can't see the drive? So Willows tried an absolute move on James Willows coming into the hairpin, coming round turn 14. Move that was never really going to work, and unfortunately, that has gone very, very badly wrong for James Willows there. Well, it was unfortunate that it went for James Willows, who got involved in that, but he has to go into the pits as there are more cars, as we see all the cars coming through. Absolute chaos. So many cars losing parts, well, so many cars losing a lot of their bodywork, and amazingly, we've still only had one retirement, but there are so many cars going in the pits. Ionescu's in the pits, Volker, Farkrasane, Wolf, Moichin, Southgate, James Willows, half the field's in there. What on earth has been happening in this first lap? I've never seen anything like it. But wow, what a start to the race we've had. And now we are on board with, it looks like, Waze Cooper, who's trying to get past Felix Sontag. 4 P3s, they come down the straight on lap 3. And Cooper is side by side with Sontag as they come down the straight. Is he going to make the move into the hairpin? And let's see, Sontag, is he going to get overtaken by Cooper? And the answer is, it looks like he will, unless Sontag can hold it round the outside, which it looks like he is, as Ren Jans and George Roke look to be quite close to each other, coming round the hairpin as they come down into turn 16, as Miklos Gau's the fastest lap of the race, and they go very slowly, Cooper and Southgate, and now Ren Jans is trying to go past Sontag, and now George Roke is going to get involved in the act. It's side by side, and now Roke might try to make a move, going through all the spray. It could be 3 wide into turn 1. That's not going to work, boys, and Roke backs out of it. And as Sontag held it from Ren Jans, and it looks like he has. And Ren Jans is going to keep 5th place, is he? Or is he just going to keep it ahead of Roke? Great battling here between the two drivers. Great battling between all the drivers, I should say. And Sontag only drops to P4 in the end. But here is George Roke, who is trying to get past Ren Jans, I think. As you know, he's not trying to get past Holst. Coming into the hairpin, there's contact. And Holst has gone into car. And unfortunately, Carr and Hulse are going to have to go into the pits. Another incident here in these tricky conditions. So let's have a look what happened. So Carr was running a 6th. There was quite an innocent factor in this. So Holst, who was in front, you can only just see Holst coming in from the spray there because it proves how much it's raining at the moment. But let's have a look actually. Are we going to have a look from Roke's point of view or Holst's point of view? So let's have a look at Holst's point of view. So Holst did move in front, and I suppose he did, move back in front of Roke, meaning that he didn't really have anywhere to go. So I suppose that would probably be counted as a racing incident, I guess. I mean, Roke did have the slipstream, and obviously it is quite difficult to see in this spray, but I don't know if there'll be any penalty for that, but we will find out at the end of the Grand Prix. So Hulse, who was trying to defend from Roke, who'd obviously dropped behind these two drivers, which obviously was unseen by the cameras, and Hulse, unfortunately, in the wet conditions, just couldn't stop the car whatsoever and just goes right into the back of our car. So Hulse, unfortunately, having to go into the pits after that. So we're now on lap 6, and we've still had so many crashes, and we've still got battles throughout the field. And now here is Rennes trying to overtake Felix Sonntag for 4th place. Coming down the straight, Rennes having a great race so far. As they come down the straight, Rennes is going to have the slipstream, and as they head into turn 1, is he going to make the move stick? It's side by side, and he's going to make the move stick into turn 1 as Sonntag locks up a bit, struggles to control the car coming to the hairpin, but he makes the move stick, and Rennes is now up into P4. Sonntag down to P5 as Jans heads into the final corner, turn 16. As they go onto the straight, and is Sonntag going to be able to make a move on him back into the first corner? We're not sure. As Sonntag makes contact with Rennes going into the hairpin, and it looks like Rennes is going to just about keep the place, is he? And he does just about that. Nearly contact once again between the two drivers. It's been some race so far. But Sonntag, I don't think he was really ever going to be able to make a move there. He was so far off, and it was never really on there. So I don't really know what Sonntag was thinking there. A move that was never really on. Rennes was already turning into the corner quite comfortably, and Sonntag maybe just didn't brake a bit too late for the corner, but still, it did look like he was trying something, but clearly it didn't come off. But now Sonntag is going to have a run on Jans coming onto the pit straight. Is he going to make a move into turn 1? He's got the slipstream, or he's got the spray, I should say, right in front of him. And as he goes into turn 1, it looks like he's not going to make the move stick unless he makes a mistake. But unfortunately, Sonntag has just made a mistake himself, and he goes wide into turn 1, and he spins. No, he doesn't. That's a great save. He's somehow managed to save that. It's fantastic there from Sonntag. But just as I was saying, that he could get past Rennes if he made a mistake, he runs wide into the first corner, and I don't know how he didn't spin there. That was quite some save. Some Ken Block type stuff right there. It looked so like he was going to spin coming into the corner, and fortunately he didn't. So he doesn't really technically lose a place there because he never really gained it actually on Rennes, but he stays in P5. But he does have now George Roquefort company behind him. So Sonntag, who unfortunately is not going to be helped by that, but he rejoins the circuit comfortably in the end, so that means he'll still at least be in the points, but now have George Roquefort company behind him, and now Rennes will probably leave him in the distance, depending on if he can catch up to him. But it did look like Rennes was the quicker car. As now here we are on board with Joseph Willer trying to make a recovery. He goes past Sean Grant for 9th place, and now he has to get past Xavier Quinlan, who's actually in the points at the moment for Lotus in all this carnage. And Grant is trying to make a move backwards into the hairpin. That's not going to go well. And there was contact there, and Grant forces his way back in front of Willows. Willows will not be happy with that whatsoever, considering he has got a much quicker car than the two Virgins. They need to step aside and let Willows do all the work. And unfortunately, they're not exactly making it easy for him, but he's going to have the slipstream. He's so much quicker. The Ferrari just has so much more grip, so much more speed. Is he going to make it round the outside into turn 1? I'm not sure. And it's still side by side coming through turn 1. And is there going to be a move made? Still side by side, and Idris was going to have the corner into turn 2, and the answer is, it looks like he has. And he has got it, so he's now surely up into 9th place for sure, and he is. And now Grant drops a bit further behind, and that is, I believe, James Willis who's behind him. Oh no, it's not. It's actually Florian Volker who's trying to get past Grant, coming into turn 4. And he doesn't make a move stick, but he does stay behind. But Grant does defend for him, but he's not going to hold him much longer, as Volker is going to go past him, coming into turn 5, and he does make it stick pretty comfortably. As we now have a yellow flag, and Xavier Quinlan, who was briefly in the points, has unfortunately gone off the track. I actually don't know where that is. That looks like to be at turn... I believe that's turn 7, I think, actually. As Quinlan has running. Oh, he just gets out of shape. He's running in 8th, and unfortunately, he just goes off spectacularly. Goes across the gravel, across the other part of the circuit, and into the barrier. Unfortunately, not a bigger impact as it could have been. But that is unlucky for Xavier Quinlan, who unfortunately drops down to 8th place. Well, he drops out of 8th place, I should say. He was running well in 8th place. He had made up a lot of positions from all the start line cars that there had been. And Quinlan, unfortunately, has thrown away the chance to possibly get more points for Virgin, or get some points, I should say, for Virgin on the board for this season. And now Michael Mocho, we've probably seen many times in the OC, has unfortunately spun, and it looks like that is coming into turn, I think that is 11 on the circuit, and he now rejoins. Let's have a look at Mocho. Did he go off by himself, or did he have contact? It looks like, by the look of it, he had contact from Robert Ionescu behind him. Ionescu is trying to recover from those lost positions, and he was mainly moving on the inside. Mocho did come in front of him, and there was contact there, so I mean, I don't think Mocho really saw Ionescu coming in his mirrors there, so I think you could probably say that was more Mocho's fault there for trying to block off Ionescu. You could say that, some people would probably say that was karma, but the way he thinks is Joseph Willows makes a bit of a mistake coming into the final corner, and that's going to allow Florian Volker to get past him, as he's got a much better run off the corner, and Volker looks set to go past him before turn 1. Is he going to make the mistake? The answer is yes, he does. As Volker makes the move for 8th place coming into the first corner. Also, we're actually looking at the replay, so obviously that happened a little bit of time ago. As we go back to the action. No, Sean Grant, is he out the race? I think he is, and Roman Quag is out the race, so unfortunately both versions are now out, and a Lotus is out of the race, and Michael Mocho overtook Moichin. Did he overtake him under yellow flags? Not quite sure about that, because I mean the cars were still there, so I imagine there probably was yellow flags, so we need to wait and see there. But more importantly, Sean Grant and Roman Quag are out of the race, so any chance of points for those two drivers are now officially gone. So let's have a look what happens. So Grant was running in 11th place. Actually, no, he wasn't running in 11th place. Mocho was behind him, and Quag just, oh my goodness, he was battling with Ionescu, was Grant, and Quag just unfortunately just didn't seem to break into the corner there, and unfortunately crashed off the circuit there. So that is not good there from Roman Quag. That was a mistake from him. So let's see. So Moichin was in 15th. So he was. Oh, there was a yellow flag. So it looks like. So Moichin got past him, and he'd already passed him before the yellow flag came out. You can see the first one there. He was already past him, so he'd made the move stick. But then Mocho just bumped him out the way there, and he clearly gets past when there are yellow flags present. So I imagine Mocho might get a penalty for that if he's not careful, or if he's lucky that he'll get. If he's lucky, he won't get a penalty. But anyways, we are now on board with Joseph Willis, who's moving up into the points. He goes past Sam Thompson in the Williams. Once again, a superior, quicker car against the Williams, which unfortunately is not a particularly great car this season. But Sam Thompson has shown, and Anna Wolf, has shown some promise in it. It's unfortunate that the mechanical side of the car, alongside the speed of the car, unfortunately isn't up there at the moment in time. So that's unfortunate for him. And Sam Thompson, speaking of him, comes in for his first pit stop of the race as Florian Volker. You can see there at the bottom of your screen is set the fastest lap, a 1:50.409. But Thompson comes into the pits for his first stop of the race. So at the moment they are on extreme wet tyres. So let's see what tyres he will go on to now. And it looks like it's just the wet tyres by the looks of it. So it looks like the rain has stopped. So it looks like the track is starting to dry up. So Thompson goes on to the wet for the first time. So this will be interesting to see, as another car is in the pits. Robert Ionescu is going on to the wet tyres as well. So let's see what the pace will be like on these tyres. So that could force, this could be very interesting. This could force everyone else to pit around them. So we will now wait and see. As Ricky Park-Rosane comes around to turn 1, and Roland Moichin is off the track, and Michael Mocho is off again, and there's been another crash. Ricky Park-Rosane's been involved, and there could be more cars involved at this rate. They're not careful. There's a big pile-up coming into turn 11, and James Willows has hit Moichin, and Wolf, I think, has hit Park-Rosane. And Wolf is out the race, I think, believe, is he? And yes, he is. And so Farquharson, as he goes wide, coming round turn 11, he just about keeps it off the Astro. But James Willis is out the race, Adam Wolf is out the race, and Moichin, I think, is still going, is he? I'm not sure, but there's been another big crash here coming into turn 11. As you can see the confirmation there that James Willows is out of the race, unfortunately. So let's see what happened as the cars gets pushed away. So what happened to that? That was quite unbelievable what was going on there. So let's go on board with Alan Wolf and see what happened to him. So it looks like Moichin was obviously involved. He was battling with Michael Mocho, and as they came into turn 11, Moichin tried to make a move. Mocho way in front of Moichin like he did to Robert Ionescu, and Moichin spun and he went off the circuit, and Thompson was battling with Farquharson. And Farquharson was on the inside, and was there contact between the two? And the answer is yes, there was contact between Farquharson and Wolf, and Farquharson spun right in front of the circuit, the worst possible place that he could spin. So there was a battle there. Unfortunately, just didn't quite give each other enough room, so there won't be a penalty for that. Just a racing incident, I will assume. So he spins, and there's Moichin's car, and unfortunately, coming around the corner, as Volkers is another fastest lap, coming around the corner was James Willows and Robert Ionescu, who were battling each other for 15th place, having just, I believe, well, James Willows recovering, I should say. So Ionescu just made it through there, it looks like, and he got bumped a little bit there. So he made it past Farquharson, but unfortunately, James Willows just caught the end of Moichin's car, so Moichin is still in the race, and Farquharson just caught Alan Wolf coming round the corner there. So that is very, very unfortunate there for Alan Wolf and James Willows, who unfortunately got involved in an incident which was not of their own making. So we'll see what happens with the stewards, decide what happens after all of that. But this has been an unbelievable first 16 laps of this race. What has been going on? No one seems to be able to drive at the moment. I don't really know what's going on, but Joseph Willows, I should say, comes in for a stop for the wet tyres. So we're now on lap 16, and we've still got 40 more laps to go. So who knows what's going to happen in this race. 11.3 second stop, so they're fueling him, looks like, for one more stop before the end of the race. And now Nicolas Gau, the leader of the Grand Prix, comes in for wet tyres as well. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly the circuit decides, well, how quickly the circuit dries up. We are in China, which is in Asia, so the weather can go from being very wet, cold and miserable to very hot and humid very, very quickly. So anyway, Nicolas Gau, let's see how quick his stop will be. A 13.4 second stop, so quite a long one there for McLaren. 31 laps, so he's going to go quite a long way on these tyres before he goes for his final stop. So he will go actually into the 40s, into lap 40, exactly as Sam Thompson has gone off into the hairpin, and there was contact between him and Alex Southgate. So once again, drivers not being able to actually keep the car on the road and keeping their cars away from contact. So Southgate looked to have been through. He unfortunately just came right into the path of Thompson, who had really nowhere to go. Not really particularly great driving there from Sam Thompson, Alex Southgate, I should say, as Thompson does a little bit of a donut before he decides to rejoin. Volker sets another fastest lap. That's all we seem to see at the moment. Sontag, who's, I believe, probably one of the last drivers to actually go onto the wet tyres. Let's see if that gamble works out for the Mercedes crew. But he comes out, he does a 10.6 second stop, and he will come out outside of the points at the moment. Will he stay in the top 10 will be the big question, and the answer is he will. By the looks of it, he'll come out in P9. Oh no, he comes out in P10 as Joseph Willows just goes past there on the wet tyres. Sontag down to P10, but I imagine he'll move up the order once some of the other drivers pit. As Waze Kuba, who's currently on the extreme wets, is now being overtaken here at the moment by Renault Moichin, who is on the wet tyres. So that means, this could mean that the wet tyres are better, as now Moichin does unlap himself past Kuba coming into the hairpin turn 14. That surely means Kuba is going to have to pit if he doesn't want to lose track position. So would he go into the pits this lap will be the question. It doesn't look like at the moment, but Evan Byrne, however, who I believe along with Kuba went one of the longest on this set of extreme wets, comes into the pits for the first time, as that is the Ferrari pit crew in front that will be for Waze Kuba, as Michael Mocho is also in the pits as well. He'll come in for wet tyres, you could say, as Evan Byrne is just to wait for a minute as Kuba goes into his pit stall. Let's see how quickly this stop will be from the Ferrari crew, who interestingly seem to be in front of the, well, they're not in front of the BMW garage, but you can see it's on the side of the board there. 7.4 seconds stop, so quite quick there from the crew. Waze Cooper is now attempting to pass Ren's Jans for 4th place coming into the hairpin. Will he make it stick? Will he not hit the car in front? Oh, this doesn't look good. And oh, there was contact there between him and Jans. I thought he was going to go into Fakhrizadeh up in front, but he didn't. And Cooper, who made the move stick quite ruthlessly, you'd have to say. But he does make the move stick nonetheless. He was alongside there, but he just didn't see. He struggled to break into the corners. You can see he couldn't turn the car, and Ren Jans actually just clipped the sides of the car as he now rejoins. Well, he keeps going, but he drops down to 5th place behind Waze Cooper. So quite a ruthless move by Cooper, but it does the business, and he moves up into 4th place, and he will now lap Ricky Fakhrizadeh in front of him as there's George Roke coming into the hairpin in 6th place, quite on his own. And there's a spectacular car failure there, and that, I believe, is Michael Mocho, and unfortunately he's going to retire from the race. Another oil leak problem. So unfortunately for Mocho, it doesn't look like he's going to get any points today anyway, unfortunately, due to the collisions, the number of collisions he's been involved in so many collisions this race. I mean, he's been known, obviously, despite to be known as a fast driver, to be quite erratic at times, to say the least, known from other drivers about his driving, and unfortunately his car this time has let him down. He'd already just gone through turn 2 and turn 3, and it was obviously then that his car decided to go. As you can see there, it does. An oil leak problem means that he had to retire from the Grand Prix, and obviously he was never going to make it back to the pits with that problem, as smoke started to come out of the car, although you can't necessarily see all the spray there, but as he goes slow, you can probably just about see there the smoke coming out of the back of the car from the oil that's spilling out. And unfortunately Michael Mocho had to retire from the Grand Prix, so unfortunate for him, but probably cheering from some drivers in the paddock who probably would be happy that he's off the track and not causing a nuisance to them. But anyway, he goes off the track, unfortunately hits his car into the wall in anger at and obviously his car breaking down on him once again. So his car gets pushed away. As the marshal waves the yellow flag there. We're on lap 25. We've still got so many more laps. We've still got half the race left to go at this moment in time, as his car goes away over the barrier. Evan Byrne currently in 2nd place behind Miguel Scal, who is the leader at the moment in this Grand Prix, and Florian Volker, who's recovered all the way up to 3rd after his first lap encounter. He's done very, very well. He has showed some very, very good pace, and if he hadn't maybe had that collision, who knows what he could have done at the front here. But he's done very, very well so far, has Florian Volker, and he moves. Well, he was in 3rd place, but let's see where he comes out after the stop. I imagine he'll still be in the points as Ren Jans now comes into the pits for his 2nd stop of the race. So it looks like they'll go on to another set of the wet tyres. Let's see where he will come out back onto the track. And he comes out, well, we're not sure yet, but here's George Roke, who comes in for another set of the wet tyres behind him. Let's see how quick this stop will be for the Renault crew. It's a 6-second stop, so it's a quick stop there from Renault. It's 20 laps, so Roke will obviously have to make another pit stop before the end of the race. So now here is Evan Byrne, who's actually caught up to Mikolas Gal, so this is a battle for position. This is the battle for the lead. So Evan Byrne is going to try and go past Mikolas Gal coming into turn 11, and there's contact between the two McLarens, and Gal has spun. Byrne manages to control it, but Evan Byrne takes the lead, but that is not the way that they would have wanted it to go. So there'll be talks in the Ferrari paddock between them and Ron Dennis, as Mikolas Gal has dropped out a 2nd. That is not what he would have wanted, but nonetheless Evan Byrne has taken the lead of the Grand Prix as Robert Ionescu comes into the pits. It looks like for another set of wet. Oh no, it's for dries. It's for dry tyres. And wow, now this could be very, very interesting. It doesn't look like the track at the moment is very wet, so it looks like Toro Rosso are certainly trying something here. So let's see if this works out. But here is the battle between Evan Byrne and Mikolas Gal. Unfortunately, we could see that people could see that coming from a mile away. You could see that wasn't going to go very well. Unfortunately for Gal, it didn't, and that is lost in the lead of the Grand Prix as Evan Byrne, I should say, takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Now Felix Sonntag is going to come in. Is he going to come in for another set of wets or for dry tyres? This will be very, very interesting to see. And it looks like he goes in for a set of dry tyres. So let's see where he will come out on the track. So this will be very interesting to see. It doesn't look particularly dry at this moment in time. As he comes out on track, he will come out, looks like just inside the top 10 once again. 5 seconds stop, so quick stop for tyres. No fuel, but he has to pit again. As on my car comes in for dry tyres. I don't think actually sometimes did come in for dries though. I mean, these for on my car certainly dry tyres. So this is going to be very interesting to see probably in a few laps time is where the track will probably start to dry. So this might be a bit early from these teams, but Toro Rosso are certainly trying a gamble. It looks like Mercedes are trying a gamble as well. As now Evan Byrne comes into the pits, Nicolas Gal stays out on track. So he comes in. Looks like all the pit crews are coming in. Ferrari come out and Red Bull have just come out for their pit stop. So Evan Byrne is going to go on to dry tyres. So it looks like clearly that the rain I should say, is not going to return. So Wade Kuba comes in for his final stop. He'll go to the end of the race. Let's see where he will come out on track. But that is very, very interesting. The track still looks very wet at the moment in time. We will see what happens as Florian Volker comes into the pits for a set of the dry tyres. So let's see where he will come out onto the track. Looks like they're coming out for Jose Williams, with Ferrari just in front. Looks like that is Renault ready, Force India ready, Sauber looks like are ready. All the teams are ready for the drivers to come in for dry tyres. It looks like as Volker, I believe, is just about. Is he going to make it to the end of the race? That is going to be very close. There's 23 laps and it's lap 33, so that will be very, very close. I imagine they might hit him before the end if they don't think he'll make it to the end. But Sauber, as Rengians comes in, Viggo Holst, who's recovered to the points, who's doing very well at the moment, comes in. George Roque comes in for dries. They're all now coming in for dry tyres. So all the pit crews have been told that the weather conditions will stay like it is and will dry up before the end. As George Roque comes out the pits, he's only got 22 laps left to fuel. He hasn't got much left. He's going to be tight at the end. Alex Southgate is going to come in for a set of the dry tyres. It looks like the points probably might be off for Southgate, unless he has a couple of drivers retire in front of him, because he is a long way from points at the moment. But he comes in for a stop. Let's see how quick the stop will be from Mercedes. Lap 33 we are on at the moment. It has been quite a race so far, and it's going to take another twist with the dry tyres. Let's see who has done this very well. Let's see actually the pace from some of the drivers on now as they go into the dries. So now Miklos Gal comes in for a set of dries. He stayed out a lap longer than everyone else. So Evan Byrne had the first call to come into the pit. So will that affect Gal coming on to, well, will that affect him coming off the track? Will he get out in front of his team? It will be the big question. We will wait and see as Roland Moitin comes in for a set of dry tyres. He's one of the last ones, looks like, to go onto the dries. As he comes out, a 6.9 second stop. So here is a battle between Felix Sondag and Ren Jans as Waze Kuba is the fastest lap of the race. I believe Kuba is on the dry tyres, and he is. So it looks like, and you can probably just about see a dry line just starting to appear on the back straight as Felix Sondag attacks Ren Jans for 5th place, coming into the hairpin, and Sondag going to make the move, stick 320 kilometers an hour as Volker sits the fastest lap, and Sondag makes the move for 5th place, coming into the hairpin. He goes a bit wide, and now Ren Jans is going to try and get him back, but I think Sontag's got it, and yes, he has. You can probably just see it starting to dry as Sontag comes in for another stop. It looks like to fuel him to the end, because he's not going to make it. So probably not particularly good there from Mercedes, deciding not to fuel Sontag to the end as he comes in 23 laps. So that will be enough, actually. That will be enough, I should say, to get into the end of the race. So he'll come out and track. Probably a bit gutted that Mercedes decided to do that. Ian Escu is going to have to do the same. He's only got 7.7 seconds, 7.7 litres, I should say, left of fuel as he comes into the pits. Let's see how quick the stop will be from the Toro Rosso crew. 5.2, and Ian Escu is not going to make it to the end of the race. He's only got 10 hours of fuel. Toro Rosso might have made a mistake. They've made a mistake there because they've not fueled Ian Escu to the end. So I don't really know what they were thinking. As Miklos Gal is out the race. Miklos Gal is out the race. He's suffered, it looks like, an oil leak, the same as Michael Mocho. And unfortunately, that has surely just gifted the win to his teammate, Evan Byrne. How unfortunate is that? And he retires just before the pit entry. And very unfortunate for Miklos Gal, who's been noted to have been very unhappy with McLaren and the bad luck that he's been having with them. And unfortunately, bad luck has once again struck for the team, and that is not very good for them. as unfortunately Gal, who was running in second place, he may have tried to look to attack, to have got back at Evan Byrne after he jumped him after the stops, but unfortunately that is not going to happen, as you can see he suffers the problem there on the dashboard, and you can see Waze Kuba overtakes him, and eventually the engine goes before he comes into the pits. As you can see there, I believe, is that just a spray? I think that's just a spray actually. As you can see, Kuba was right behind him, and he does overtake him coming round into turn 9 and then through turn 10. And I imagine it's probably on the back straight where they use all of the power. That's when the oil leak goes. So as we look here, Gal, unfortunately his luck does not continue to go very well with McLaren. He's known to have been very frustrated and is looking for a move away from the team next season in 2012. But it'll be interesting to see if McLaren would want to let him go. So we know Nicolas Gal is a talented driver, having won the GP4 Offline Championship 2009 season, but unfortunately this season it's not gone very well for him, and a possible win maybe has been taken away from him. As you can see, there goes the engine on the back straight, as unfortunately Gal had to pull off just before the pits as well, but unfortunately it was terminal, so it was not repairable for the team. As you can see, Gal has to pull off the side of the circuit on lap 38 of the Grand Prix. It's now here we are on lap 43 as Roder Moichin goes wide coming into turn 1, and he rejoins the circuit as unfortunately he's had to have an off-track excursion there. Unfortunately the car probably struggling, having been involved in the first lap incident. You can just see he just gets a lot of understeer, just goes straight off the circuit, he just can't steer the car there. So the wet dry conditions still causing havoc for the drivers. As you can see, it's still very wet outside of the dry line. You can see the dry line now really starting to appear on the circuit. As we look on at Rens Jans, who's running in 4th place, but he goes wide coming round turn 8, and he has gone off the circuit, and he has cost himself a possible chance of a top 5 finish as Joseph Willers goes past him into P5. How unfortunate is that? And Viggo Holst is going to attack Rens Jans as well. But speaking of it, it looks like Rens Jans is not going to make it to the end on fuel. As you can see, only 5.6 litres left. So unfortunately Sauber not fueled him to the end, so that would have cost Rens Jans a top 5, but he might have had a better chance had he not spun off here. But Joseph Willis, who's made a great recovery, the same as Florian Volker, moves up into the top 4. How unfortunate is that? As we now are on the last lap of the race, and here we are looking at Evan Byrne, who took the lead from Nicolas Gal after the stops, as Gal went 1 lap earlier. Byrne called it. He went into the pits a lap before Gal, and that is what gave him the lead of the race. As the track started to dry, you can see the track is pretty dry now, but Evan Byrne proving his tactical genius as he comes through turn 10 and into turn 11. Many people were wondering if he would be a serious title contender, but he proved that by winning the first race of the season in Australia. As he comes round turn 11 and through turn 12 and turn 13, he comes on the back straight, and Evan Byrne has done very well. Waze Kuba, who is in second place, who has been gaining on him. It was a bigger gap, but it's not going to matter now. So Byrne, he's got a bit of traffic in front. He has got the Williams of, I believe that is Sam Thompson, I should say, in front of him. But I don't think he'll bother to lap him as he comes into the hairpin. He can just take it easy. There's Kuba just coming behind on the back straight. The track's still obviously quite wet from all the rain as Evan Byrne comes around the final corner, and Evan Byrne wins the Chinese Grand Prix. He takes his second victory of the season to put his intentions for a first title in the OC on the table. Congratulations to him, as Waze Kuba comes home in second place, and George Roque is going to come home in 9th place, as Alex Southgate will come home in 10th place for Mercedes, as Ian Escu is set to come home in 11th for Toro Rosso. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him at the strategy, as they didn't fuel him to the end, as Florian Volker is going to come home for a very, very impressive 3rd place. What a performance by the German driver. That is fantastic, coming in 3rd place with no one really coming on a very lonely 3rd place. As Joseph Willis is only just coming onto the back straight. Joseph Willis has also made a great recovery, as now the 2 Force Indians are battling, Roder Moichin and Viggo Holst, looks like, for P5. So Holst has made a fantastic recovery as well. So there's so many contenders here for driver of the day, as Moichin looks like he's going to overtake Holst coming into the hairpin, but he won't mind that because Holst won't drop any positions. So Joseph Willis comes home. He'll take 4th place after a great win in Malaysia. It was a great recovery race from the British drivers. He comes home P4. Roder Moichin is set to come home P12. Not the race for him at all. But Viggo Holst, once again, another fantastic race, as he will come across the line in P5. And now P6, I believe, will be... who's it going to be, actually? Is it going to be Rens Jans? We'll find out in a minute as Richard Fakrasane comes home in 13th place, Amarkar comes home in 14th place, and 7th place is going to be Ren Jian. So it looks like it was Amarkar that was in 6th place. So congratulations to him. So good points there for Toro Rosso, as Felix Santos is going to claim the last point spot in 8th place, as Sam Thompson will come across the line as the last car on the field not to have completed the race, and he comes across the line as Evan Byrne is your winner. So Waze Cooper is in. So here are the 4 race results, I should say. Waze Cooper is in 2nd, Evan Byrne 1st, Volker 3rd, Joseph Buzz 4th, Viggo Holst 5th, Amarkar 6th, Ren John 7th, Felix Santos 8th, George Rowe 9th, Alex Southgate 10th, Ian Eskew 11th, Moichin 12th, Fakrasane 13th, Thompson 14th, Gal 15th, Mocho 16th, Wolf 17th, James Wells 18th, Roman Quagg 19th, Grant 20th, Quinlan 21st, and Jay McKenzie in last place. So the fastest laps were Volker by over a second ahead of Renjans, and then George Rowe in 3rd. At Southgate 4th, Ian Eskew 5th, Moyton 6th, Cooper 7th, Byrne 8th, Santos 9th, Willows 10th, Joseph Willows that is in 10th, Ricky Fox in 11th, Carr 12th, Holst 13th, Thompson 14th, Gal 15th, Mocho 16th, James Wills 17th, Quinlan 18th, Quagg 19th, Wolf 20th, Grant 21st, and Jay McKenzie didn't set a lap time in 22nd. So as we go on to the point standings and the constructor standings, so Evan Byrne currently leads by 6 points ahead of Florian Volker in 2nd, who's just 2 ahead of Kuba in 3rd, with 1 point ahead of James Willows in 4th. Viggo Holst at the moment, impressively, in 5th place, Force India ahead of James Willows in Red Bull with 8 points, Miklas Gal with 5, Ren Jans with 5 as well, George Rook with 4, Quagg with 3, Carr with 3, Southgate with 2, Fakrasane with 2, Santo with 2, and Moichin with 1, with Jamie Kenzie, Sean Grant, Robert Inescu, Santos, Michael Mocho, Alan Wolf, Xavier Quinlan with 0 points. In the constructors, it is Ferrari leading by 2 points ahead of McLaren, who are 3 points ahead of Red Bull. Force India, who are already 16 points behind in 4th, Sauber in 5th with 7, Renault 6th with 4, Mercedes 7th with 4, 8th Lotus with 3, same with Toro Rosso, who are in 9th with 3, Virgin with 0 points, and Williams with 0 points. Well, that has been the Chinese Grand Prix. That has been one of the most incredible races that we've seen in this series so far. I mean, there's so many of them that have been so good, but that definitely was near the top. But I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget to vote for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. So thank you very much for watching, guys. We will see you for the next round of the series, the Turkish Grand Prix at Istanbul. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you there.